Know that your efforts are appreciated and will not go unrewarded, but we can speak of that later. For now, come. We must see to the burning of the dead.
And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again, and the Mojave wasteland was forever changed. The legate is crowned as the new Caesar. He entered the Strip as though it was a military target, destroying anyone who resisted him. The Legion brutally occupied all major locations, killing and enslaving a large amount of the population. Under the Legion's banner, civilization, savage as it was, finally came to the Mojave wasteland. The Legion marched over the Hoover Dam with the help of one who was as brutal and merciless as the worst of them, the Courier. Caesar honored him with a golden coin, minted in celebration of his contributions and distributed throughout the wasteland.
Though some super mutants in Nightkin continued to journey to the legendary Utopia, they found little trace of its existence. Some eventually found their way to Jacobstown, but many wandered off into the wastes, confused and disheartened.
After a long and eventful life, Raoul's luck finally ran out during his time with the Courier.
Without organized leadership, the remaining boomers slowly drifted away, leaving Nellis Air Force Base to be flooded by prospectors and scavengers. All of the boomers' accumulated knowledge quickly scattered, and their existence slowly faded from memory.
Buried beneath tons of rubble, the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel was no more. Those few who were outside the Hidden Valley bunker when it was destroyed settled into new lives, or headed west to find a new chapter to join.
At odds with leadership over the Brotherhood's future, Veronica looked to the Mojave wasteland for an answer both she and they could live with. But the answer would never come, and the dangers of the world that had left the Brotherhood of Steel behind would eventually claim her life.
The Fiends attacked Camp McCarran during the Second Battle of Hoover Dam and suffered heavy losses. Caesar, unimpressed with their performance and their dependence on chems, had them exterminated.
After the Legion's victory, the new Caesar learned the followers had defamed the original Caesar's noble origins. The followers of the Apocalypse were hunted down and exterminated, and Old Mormon Fort was turned into a pile of rubble.
Though Arcade's intentions were pure and his goals were noble, he ultimately succumbed to the harsh brutality of the Mojave, like so many before him.
Travelers continued to stop by Good Springs Source for water on the Long 15, but rarely would anyone venture into the ruins of Good Springs itself. Those who did were almost always tourists, come to visit the graveyard where the Courier rose from the dead.
Rose of Sharon Cassidy died as her caravan died. In an unmarked grave, another victim of the Mojave.
As reward for their loyal service, Caesar forcibly integrated the Great Khans into the Legion. The sick and elderly were killed, the women sold as wives to ranking officers, and the tribe's identity was annihilated. Though many Great Khans mourned the death of their tribe, many more were ultimately satisfied with their revenge against NCR.
With Jacobstown's leadership destroyed, the remaining super mutants and Nightkin of the West scattered across the wasteland. Jacobstown withered away, its death going unnoticed by the rest of the Mojave.
Lily's long life finally came to a close in the Mojave wasteland. As the life faded from her, her last thoughts were of her grandchildren.
After their victory at Hoover Dam, Legion troops rolled through Freeside. The Kings tried to fight back, but most were killed, and the rest fled into the wasteland.
He had survived police service in Colorado, the Great War, combat duty with the Legion, and being the companion of the King. But in the end, Rex finally succumbed to the horrors of the wasteland.
Slain to the last man by the Courier, the Misfits were at least spared the humiliation of dying during Caesar's attack on Camp Golf. Few mourned their absence.
Despite their vigilance against potential attacks by the Legion, the citizens of Novak were no match for the Courier. The motel and Dinky the dinosaur were left vacant, a rare stop at best for travelers along Highway 95.
Tired of waiting for the world to be done with him, Boone ventured into the wastes to make his own way out. Unable to clear his mind of the past, he was at last granted the death he'd awaited, bringing final rest to a life that had ended long ago.
Most powder gangers at the correctional facility fled into the wasteland rather than face the advancing forces of the Legion. Those brave or foolish to remain were killed or crucified by the merciless legionaries.
Armed with a wide array of improvised explosives and stolen weapons, the Vault 19 powder gang tormented the Mojave Wasteland for years. Citizens of the NCR were favorite targets, and they always suffered the worst fates.
Prim, already torn apart by powder gangers, was dealt a killing blow by the Courier. Though prospectors pick through the remains of the town from time to time, no one reestablishes it as a settlement.
And so the Courier's road came to an end, for now. In the new world of the Mojave Wasteland, fighting continued, blood was spilled, and many lived and died just as they had in the old world. Because war never changes.